Sweet.
So, what inspired the show?
Hi, Ritz. I think we were looking for something to do together, and it had always been something I kind of been noodling how to crack a pirate show, and I just couldn't crack it. And Robert sort of had the idea of what if it's what if it's a little bit historical and a little bit based in Treasure Island, and it all just kind of fell into place from there. And the more we read about it, the actual world, when you get past the movies and you get past Errol Flynn, and frankly, when you get past Treasure Island and you get into the historical reality, it's so interesting and so dense, and it just so desperately wanted to be a show. Especially now that on pay cable you can do that. You can tell a story about a world that's interesting without there needing to be ghosts in it or without there needing to be whatever, just because it's interesting. So yeah, from there, the process with Bay and Platten Dunes was pretty smooth. They heard one 3-minute pitch and they were on board, and then Starz was kind of the same way. I think they heard what we were talking about in terms of wanting to build these characters that are that feel human and feel real and gritty, and they knew what Michael brings to something like that, and the combination of those two things of doing a great big action show that hopefully lives up to Michael's brand, along with this the subtlety, I guess, or the character.
Yeah, a dense, long-form story with great characters and great turns, and the kind of thing that an audience that shows up for pay cable expects nowadays in this landscape where there's just way too much good TV. And we have the right partners to do both.
Yeah.
So it's been great. I mean, I think we feel really excited about where it's gotten to, and then where hopefully it can keep going.
Yeah.
Did you always envision it as a pay cable show versus a network show?
Yeah, I mean, we both come from network, and there are some things you can do on network you can't do on pay cable, but there's a lot you can do on pay cable now that you can't do anywhere else, features included. It's its own medium a little bit, and I think we knew right away what we wanted it to be, what we wanted it to feel like. We wanted it to feel like it was like you were seeing this world as it was, not interpreted, not sort of. And that's not to say that we feel like we're trying to make a documentary or we're trying to recreate history for its own sake. We just wanted it to feel like it could have been there, that what you're watching feels like it has an air of truth to it. There's just not, and it's really the only place you can do it is premium cable, and there's maybe only 2 or 3 places within premium cable you could do something of this size. And we just sort of found the sweet spot with Starz.
Starz has been absolutely committed since the beginning to deliver, the show we pitched them on both the character front, the drama front, and the action and the scope. And we've never worked on anything this big, and when we showed up on the set, it was jaw dropping. It's enormous. We built the whole town, the whole beach, and 2 full-scale pirate ships with the rigging and the sails and everything. And it's completely immersive. You couldn't ask for more, and that to them it's just to us a demonstration that they want this to be as great as I think everyone who wants a great pirate show to be.
Yeah.
Since the show is on such a large scale, what was the most difficult aspect of production?
I think, as a global issue, we're trying to produce the Bahamas in 1715 in South Africa. So visual effects are going to be a component of that. I think specifically the most complicated part, I think, is the ships are hard. It's hard to shoot something that big because the bar is so high. Everybody's paid $9 and seen the $300 million version of this, and somehow we got to figure out how to live up to that. And so it's a process of us figuring out how to make these ships feel real, how to make them feel Like they're not platforms or stages. They're in constant movement. They're unstable. They make noises. I mean, it's just sort of this animal that they're all riding through
You
the
can
water.
remove water as an element, which is the most difficult thing about it, but then you still have wind, and that's what we realized when you drop these sails that are full sails on the ship. It's like they're going to catch the wind,
Yeah.
And so we had to be careful about the conditions under which we shot the boats, and so it's a constant challenge to deliver on something that's not there, but make it feel like it is.
How much of the stunts do the cast members get to do?
A lot, I think. I mean, you never want to put anybody in a position where they're not going to be safe. But I think our cast, we got so lucky with the cast. Everybody they want to do it, which is not always a given, but they're into it, they're excited about it, and they're excited about their characters. And I think once that happens, everybody wants to, they want to experience the danger they're experiencing. They want to do it. So, as much as is possible, it's all them.
We want to tell a story too where the camera's over the shoulder of these people. It's right in it with them. To us, that makes it feel less like a period piece and more like something that's immediate. And that means that when you do action and you do fights, and there's something also that I think Michael expects, is that it feel real and it feel gritty and it feel visceral. And so we really needed the cast to be prepared to do that.
Yeah.
So they basically went to pirate camp for 2 or 3 weeks before we started shooting, both to get in shape, but also to get familiar with a sword and to get familiar with how to throw a punch and how to handle yourself on a boat. So when the time comes, they can make it look real.
Yeah.
So like real pirates, those are like raw, like bad dudes. Like if this TV show had like a rating, would it be R? Would it be PG-13?
I don't know. It's definitely not PG-13.
It's a hard R. I think
it's pretty hard R. I mean, it's I don't think we ever want to be doing anything for its own sake. It's I don't think it's gratuitous, but we do want it to feel. We want it to feel real. I mean, we want it to feel like you've seen pirates take a ship before. It's almost always very sanitized. It's you see the fight, but you don't see the aftermath. You don't see that it's scary, that these guys were probably drinking before they went over the side, that the ones who were going over for the first time were terrified. They had to have been. And I think in order to sell that, you need to make it visceral. And so, the violence is a part of that. I think the sex is a part of it too. This part of the story we're telling is that this is a place on the fringes of civilization.
Yeah, it's lawless.
Yeah, and it's also, it's not even so much that it's lawless, is that the social norms are breaking down, and gender roles are breaking down, and expectations are breaking down. And I think in order to be able to show that, you need to see what that does to people and what license does to them in that environment.
Yeah, even without law, there's still something regulating keeping a community working, and so for us it was sort of finding out the specific ways in which your grievances against you are returned in kind, and that means for some of our characters that means some pretty harsh experiences, and for a couple of them that's what the first season is. It's a descent, and then we get to watch them claw their way back, because the other side of that coin on this island is that things can change very fast, and if you want to take what's yours, you can do it if you're willing to go to certain lengths. So yeah, it's not an easy journey for anyone.
You described. I'm sorry.
While doing a history of pirates, because this series is a little more historical, what was the most interesting fact that you found?
I think the most interesting thing to me was understanding where they came from. My understanding from the movies I'd seen is that pirates are adventurers, or pirates are villains, and that the people they're hunting are the innocent. The thing that was most interesting to me was how brutal life was on the merchant ships. On the naval ships, like the civilized English ships, were really violent and really cruel and really arbitrary. And it starts to make a lot more sense when you think about it that way, that for a lot of these people, they were abused, they weren't paid, they were kidnapped and thrown onto ships to be labor for merchant ships and for the Navy, serially. You get on a ship and spend 2 years at sea and not get paid. and then get off the ship, and before your family knows what's happened to you, you're thrown onto another one. And now suddenly being a pirate makes a lot more sense. Like, in a way, these are the people who are the most rational in terms of responding to a system that had really become oppressive to people who were on the lower rungs of it. And that to me was a part of that story I'd never heard before.
Yeah, what you start to recognize is that once they made the choice to become pirates, they were experimenting with democracy on 50 or 60 years before the American Revolution. They were talking about making laws that protected the sort of rank and file from an abusive monarch, basically.
Switching like one more question. And
So I think for us right away that was both surprising and also kind of surprising that no one ever tried to make story out of it before. And then we found the perfect partners to do that with.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Michael Bay brand earlier. What would you describe his day-to-day involvement as, and has anything surprised you about working with him?
He's been incredibly supportive. I think the stuff that at the outset we knew would be really important to him, look of the show, the feel of the show, the scope of the show, and just the quality of it, to make sure that it felt like when we say it lives up to the brand, there's never been any pressure from him to make it his show or to write the story for us. Michael and Brad and Drew have been really supportive about letting us tell the story we want to tell. I think for Michael, it's about this has to look great. It can't look schlocky. It can't look like we cut corners.
So you get the best DP you can possibly get. You get an amazing production designer. You get an amazing color timeless colorist. Every step of the way you're getting the best in the business because they want to be in business with Michael. So.
It's so rare, especially in TV, even in premium cable, to be in an environment where both the people paying for the show and your creative partners are completely committed to the show looking great, and everything else falls after that. Looking great and working as a story, and I think we found that.